And then you were in the Marines too, right?
I was in Marines. I was in Marine Corps.
What years were you in the Marines?
87 to 91. Yep. And had such a similar situation to you in which I was like, yo, I have a chance to get a record deal in California. And I was stationed in Texas as a reserve. And they were like, yo, we got a base off of Stadium Way in California. We're going to send you there. We shared that base with the Air Force. Went to that base, was there for maybe a year, and then told them my record deal was solidified and I'm about to go on tour. And they were like, well, you know, you do have an obligation. I was like, yeah, but I got to go on tour. And they were like, okay. So the military actually supported me, you know, in my hip hop career.
Did you see yourself being a lifer before the record deal in the Marines?
No. I look. There's this period where, you know, the United States, man, they just got you thinking that you got to be in college. Otherwise, you're going nowhere fast in the world. I never really bought into that, but I honestly didn't feel secure enough in my dreams to be, you know, in hip hop and to be in entertainment to just go balls to the wall. So the military was kind of like, really, it was filling the gap between the ages of 18 and 22 to figure out what I was really going to do with my life.
That's where when we talked, we were right on the same page. Because when I joined the Navy, it was pretty much my thinking was, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I just know where I didn't want to be.
Right.
So the military was a way for me to just be like, okay, I can get a fresh start in a new city. I don't care where it's at on this earth, but I could get and then I was like, I'll figure it out when I'm in I know that sounds odd, but you're just kind of, I think a lot of guys like that. They join the military just to figure out what they want to do with their lives.
It's true, and when you're younger, sometimes you're just not as aware of who actually mobilizes your military, what missions your military is actually calling out, what those obligations lend to. You're not as conscious of all that stuff, so you know it doesn't feel as big as an obligation as it actually pans out to be, man. You know, I'm sure, I don't know if you've been on any of these USO tours over to Afghanistan, but now when I go there and see these 20-year-olds who've only had one boyfriend or one girlfriend in their life over there manning killing machines, it's hard to leave them there. It makes me feel like we need to switch places. Like, I've lived enough life, go live some life, leave me here. It's hard to leave. And so I guess I look at it differently now, but at the time it made all the sense in the world. And the truth is, our military recruiters were incredibly seductive back in the day. They knew how to lure my dumb ass in and get me to sign up, you know, blindly.
Let me tell you, my military recruiting story was my military recruiter in the Navy who got me, you know, saw an easy fish and threw that line out there and reeled me in. But I went back probably 3-4 years later. I don't know if the Marines had this. We would go work for the recruiting station for 2 weeks in our hometown, but it didn't count against our leave, our vacation time. Did you have that in the Marines?
Oh, no. Didn't have that.
Oh, so we had that where you could go back for 2 weeks, work for your recruiter, so you're still working, but you're back in your hometown, and it doesn't count against your, I think we had 2 weeks of leave a year. We were able to go home for 2 weeks. But my recruiter walks in to get his like W-2 and his tax papers, his forms, and he walks in, and I go, what's up, man? Now, I'm like 3 years in the Navy. What's going on? He goes, hey, what's up? I go, what's up? Are you still in? He goes, nah, I got tired of this shit. I went, what the fuck? I was like, motherfucker, you recruited me. Nah, man, I got tired of this shit. And he just looked bad. He looked bad. He was eating everything you said not to eat, Romany. He just looked like he had a sugar sandwich with white rice.
Man, I swear to you, I had a sergeant who should have easily been, at that time in his life, a gunny sergeant at least. And we did a camp. We went to Camp O'Reilly, which is in Oregon. We did like 2 weeks out there. We were doing all these drills and sleeping in the woods and hiking and whatnot. And this dude got discharged because he attacked. They were playing a prank on him. It was raining really bad, and it was raining so bad we ended up all having to sleep in a cafeteria. If you left the cafeteria, there's like a little gift shop down a hill, but you'd have to go in the rain, and he'd go down that hill, and he'd go get in these cookies. And he'd bring the cookies back, and then he'd want to take off his boots and everything and dry off. And while he was doing that, somebody stole his cookies. This dude threw a fit. Who stole my damn cookies? Went back down the hill to get more of that sugar, because you know it's addictive as hell. Comes back up, and somebody steals the next bag of cookies that he bought, yo. And he threw a fit and ended up being discharged. But he looks the way you describe your recruiter. Like, yo, like he had just had one too many bar visits, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One too many cookies, and just miserable. Yeah. And here's the thing, man. I've met some really brilliant people in the military, but I've also met some people that are, well, you know. That's all I'm saying.
I remember sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean one night with like I used to love working nights because nobody bothered you at night.
Right,
Whether
right.
I was on shore duty or on a ship, I loved working nights. There was like 4 or 5 of us guys were sitting around. It's called mid-rats. So that's your dinner at 3 a.m, and it's basically the leftovers from the dinner, in the cafeteria on the ship and the galley. And then we're all sitting around. And somebody goes, "Hey, what would you do if you had $1 million?" And every guy walk around, I'd tell the Navy, "Fuck off," and I do this. And I literally looked at all the guys and I go, "I'm gonna make $1 million." And they looked at me like, "Man, Owen, shut up." I go, No, I'm gonna be a comedian. I'm gonna make $1 million. And I was dead set. And like 3 of the guys laughed at me, but one guy, and I remember his name, it was Whitkey, Wittke. He goes, "I can see that, Owen. You're funny." I'll never forget the one guy looked at me and was like, "I could see that." But the other 3 guys was like, it was like $1 million was so far out of their thinking. But you also got to realize, I didn't realize till I watched that documentary, Fahrenheit 9/11, that a lot of the enlisted military are the bottom, like the bottom of the bottom when it comes to how they were raised. It's the ghetto, it's the trailer parks. It's those people with no money, they enlist because they feel like that's their only outlet. So their thinking is they'll never make $1 million. And I remember thinking, oh no, I'm going to make $1 million as a stand-up.
Right. That's mad funny. I was battle rapping in the military so much that there was a guy. I don't remember his full name because we called each other by our last names. His last name was King. This dude would go to other barracks and be like, "Yo, I got this cat over at my barracks that'll smash all y'all. Every last he'll kill any one of y'all on the mic." Back then we would say MC. And this dude would instigate battles. I'd be waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, dudes have come over from their barracks to battle me. Like, what the hell is going on? And so I kind of had like the opposite effect where everybody in my barracks knew that I was going to be in show business. Probably more than me. Yeah, man.
Well, I had a lot of support from a lot of my military buddies because when I first started out in San Diego, they were the ones supporting me. And it's crazy because you being in the Marines, me being in the Navy, you always got those guys like you go to the gym and there'd be guys like 360 dunking and throwing it down. You're like, how is this guy in the military? Why is he not at a D1 college right now? Or you go to the weight room and you see guys just putting up like 500 pounds. You're like, why is he not in a strongman contest? Or you meet guys like, if I was to see yourself, I'd be like, yo, how is this guy not have a record deal? And I think so by us telling what we just told, I think there's a lot of guys out there that just joined the military because there's no other outlet. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'll figure it out. I remember being on some of those base basketball teams like, what? We got a D1 team here.
Yo, man, I know dudes that boxed in the military. Really should have been I'm going to just say, like, man, I feel like we grew up fairly similar, right? In the sense that, like, we've lived in trailer parks and whatnot, but I don't feel at the same time that we were, like, poor. You know what I'm saying? I don't consider it poor. Like, I've seen poor. I've seen third world poor. I've seen third world poor in the United States of America. There's been times when I was thinking about buying, like, Section 8 buildings and stuff like that, and when I went and saw how people were living, I just wanted to help. I didn't want to do nothing else. I was like, oh, this feels like a call to action. I can't even explain it. And so my point being is that I kind of feel as though when your dreams are something that seem intangible, like making $1 million, as you put it, it's not just the people in the military, but sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's our siblings, sometimes it's our closest friends. It just seems so far-fetched to them based on the conditioning of their upbringing. You get what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
my blessing, which is very odd, especially being the son of immigrants, the first American born in my family, anybody I know who's first American born in their family and live in the United States of America, they had 3 options. They had 4 options. They could be a doctor, they could be a lawyer, or they could be an engineer, and the family wouldn't disown you, but they would settle for a dentist. Facts.
Settle.
Outside of that, get out the house. And my family was so encouraging of me when it came to entertainment. Probably because it was something that they both aspired to. My mother was a model, and that's how she came to the United States in the first place. She won a competition that brought her here. But my point being is that that little bit of encouragement in those formative years goes a long way, in the same way that that little bit of discouragement goes a long way. In fact, the discouragement goes a longer way. And so that's part of it. And so if you have any little bit of community that's giving you like some props or telling you you can do it, it can sometimes be the deciding factor. And when you're living in environments where people, your parents or your people are so afraid of you ending up stuck or ending up not happening, they want you to aspire to tangible goals. And they're not doing it necessarily because they're hating. They're doing it sometimes because they care about you, and that seems the safest option to them. But today, knowing what I know, knowing the overall big picture, you know, my kids are like, you know, concerned about whether or not they have drive or whether or not they are, you know, as hardworking as they should be. I'm like, yo, if you figure out how to be happy, just figure out how to be happy. If
Facts.
you do that, you beating most of us. You beating 90% of the planet. You know what I'm saying? Be happy.